for goals, scouting for goals. We want the finish, we want the goal. Scouting for goals, scouting for goals. Say it with us now, let it unfold. Scouting for goals. Scouting for goals.
Hello and welcome to the Scouting for Goals podcast. Can't believe we're on episode 2 already, to be fair. It's been quite a mad week with looking at all the stats and stuff of the last podcast. So, yeah, I'm joined by Dean today.
Hello again.
And we haven't got Ryan today because he had other commitments. So it's just me and Dean. And we've gone on a little wander to sit in the countryside and make a makeshift setup for this episode. So currently the mic is set up on a log. So if you do hear any birds chirping or anything, yeah, that's the reason why. Hopefully you won't, but just in case.
That's the dedication that's gone into this podcast.
It is.
Just for a bit of context.
Yeah, we are very dedicated. So, as you've seen by the title, European Nights, Dean. It's going to be about Champions Leagues, Europa Leagues, all that sort of stuff, right? But before we talk about any of the games that have happened this year, I want to know, do you prefer the new Champions League format that we've got now with the league system, one big league? Or do you prefer the old format, which had, was it 7 or 8 different groups and 4 teams in each?
Groups,
yeah,
honestly,
and the top 2 teams from each group obviously then went through to the knockouts. So which do you prefer?
Personally, I'm much more of a big fan of the new format. I think it provides for a lot more entertaining fixtures earlier on in the Champions League season. I mean, we've seen that time and time again because obviously anybody is able to play any of the other teams. So we're getting all these exciting games before we've even gotten into the knockout stage. It's giving more underdogs a chance as well of getting further into the competition, as we've seen with Bodo Glimt this season, able to get some big points against big teams earlier on in the Champions League and making it into the early stages of the knockouts. It's provided for a few seasons of very entertaining football, to say the least.
It has, and funnily enough, I was going to touch upon Bodo Glimt as well, because I think when a smaller team like that gets through to the knockouts and then starts beating some of your giants of football, it does make it more entertaining, especially for me anyway. And you start supporting them, don't you? And wanting them to go further and further.
Good underdog story,
yeah,
absolutely.
They do. So for me, I think at the start I was very against the new format, but I think as I've seen it happen and I've seen what it can do for the smaller teams across Europe, I actually think I do prefer it now.
Yeah, I think everyone comes into it with that bit of scepticism to begin with, because as humans, I'd say we're quite opposed to change a lot of the times. I know I especially am. I'm quite a sucker for my routine. So when things are a bit different, sometimes we're a bit unsure of the unknown. But I think as things have progressed the past few seasons, it's been a fantastic welcome to the Champions League.
It has. So we've had obviously the 2 semi-final games this week. So we had PSG against Bayern Munich, didn't we, as the first game. In the first leg, PSG came out victors, winning 5-4, didn't they? Kvaratskhelia got 2, Dembele got 2, and João Neves with the 1 for PSG. And then on the other side, Bayern, Kane scored a pen, Elise, Pamecano and Diaz. What a game that was. I remember messaging you about it while it was going on. It was, for a European match, I don't think I've ever seen so much attacking football. It was unreal, really.
Absolutely. I mean, just watching that game, I think that and the PSG Real Madrid fixture just before it have been times in recent memory where I've been absolutely glued to the screen watching these games, which we're not seeing too much of in modern day football, unfortunately. I mean, the game's gotten a lot more strict. It's not as expressive as it used to be. So to be able to see these teams attack the way that they have and just go for it has been fantastic to watch.
It has, to be fair. Obviously, second leg was this week. Weren't quite as interesting. Bayern drew 1-1, so it meant PSG were to win 6-5 in aggregate and go through to the final. Again, Kane scoring for Bayern and Dembele once again scoring for PSG. So do you think, at the moment, PSG are now a European super team? Because obviously the last couple of years they've had some big players. They've had obviously Messi, Neymar, Mbappe. They've lost all 3 of them. But I actually think now they're a better team than what they were, even when they had them players. So do you think they can now be considered as one of the best European teams in the world at the moment?
I think currently you've got to base it off the fact PSG last season won the Champions League. This season as well, putting dominating displays against big teams. I think they've been able to prove in recent years, I think since the departure of players like Messi, Mbappe, Neymar, they've always been a team that's quite top heavy. I mean, we've seen that in the past when they've had Edison Cavani, Ibrahimovic, we had Lavezzi, Lucas Moura as well, was a solid player for PSG for a few years.
Lucas Moura, what a throwback that is.
Yeah, fantastic. Even at Tottenham, what a player. But I think now, just as a core, you look at that PSG team, there isn't a single area of weakness in that team. And even to see Bayern Munich, a team that score as many goals that they do, fantastic attack this season, Kane, Elise, Diaz, even those players have struggled with PSG, and to be able to outscore them and break them down as a side, I think it's so challenging for any team at the moment to try and displace PSG at the top of European football. Whether we can really say whether there'll be a super team, I suppose that will be how many Champions Leagues can PSG win. If they go on a kind of streak like a Real Madrid and establish themselves by getting more Champions Leagues, then you can definitely make a case for it. But there's no doubt that in current football, PSG are sat at the top.
I feel like they're in that game, PSG Bayern. I think if you're an Arsenal fan, you want Bayern to win it, because I feel like you'd feel more comfortable against Bayern and their style of play than you would against PSG. But then, like you've just said, it is tough because the amount of goals Bayern have scored, you would expect them to have at least scored one anyway. So, no, it's a tough one. Now, Kvaratskhelia, obviously PSG winger, right? Do you think he's quite underrated?
Oh, absolutely. I think the stats show for themselves. Even when at Napoli, people were giving him his plaudits for how well he was doing in that side. I mean, Napoli managed to win the title. I think with his first season at the club, correct me if I'm wrong, I think when they had him and they had Osimhen that season, I'm pretty sure they signed Kvaratskhelia and they won the title that season. His first season, obviously, I think far outclassed his second season then for Napoli. But I think just overall throughout the seasons, he's consistently put up the numbers. And I think just to watch as a player as well, the way he moves with the ball, how he's not afraid to take on players, it's just so exciting to watch.
That's the thing with footballers, isn't it? How they get judged on being one of the best in the world. Is it consistency, or is it how entertaining they are to watch? But I think he's done both this year, hasn't he? He's been so consistent, especially in the Champions League. But to watch, he's just a class player, isn't he? And to do what he does on a European stage, week in, week out, is something you don't see very often from some players, because some bigger players struggle, don't they, in the big games?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, this week he became the first player to score or assist in 7 Champions League knockout stage games in the same UCL campaign, which is quite a mad stat, to be fair. But going on to sort of his stats from this season, right? So in Ligue 1, he played 25 games, scored 7, 2 assists, right? So that's 9 in 25 goal contributions. Pretty average, right? Champions League, 15 games, 10 goals, 7 assists. So he's got 17 goal involvements in 15 in just the Champions League. That Champions League stat is ludicrous, isn't it? It's to have more goals than games, well, goal contributions than games in the Champions League is exceptional.
Oh, absolutely.
And I mean, this season, 26 goal contributions in 40. I think he's been one of PSG's star players. And I think he's done more than what the likes of Neymar did as well. And obviously Neymar, when he went there, was a much bigger player in terms of name. And so, coming from quite an obscure nation in Georgia and joining PSG and doing this type of things he's done. Going back on to what I said earlier, I would at the moment currently rank him top 2, top 3 players in the world. I think he's had a great year. Dembele, right, 19 games, Ligue 1, 10 goals, 6 assists. He's had a cracking season in Ligue 1, and it's one of the reasons that they ended up, well, one of the many reasons why they ended up winning Ligue 1 again. Champions League, 12 games, 7 goals, 2 assists, so 9 in 12, which brings his total for the year, 25 goal contributions in 31. The amount of individual quality in that PSG team is incredible, don't you think?
I think you have to look at it from the perspective of the fullbacks as well. When you've got Hakimi and Nuno Mendes, like Hakimi's impact on the game for PSG, he's able to press up the pitch. The amount of assists and goal contributions he gets as well, and he's been tough to break down as well, that PSG side defensively. have been so difficult for other sides. I mean, even when they're pushing up the pitch and scoring as much as they are as well, I think just all the way across the pitch, they're just blessed with so much quality at the moment.
They are. Good thing you said about the right backs and the left backs. Who's their left back? Is it Nuno Mendes? Yeah. Both full backs, I think, are quality. Hakimi's definitely the best right back in the world, I would say, easily. And he's got quite a few goal contributions himself, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's... let's look at... So we've looked at the players, right? How much of this do you think reflects upon how Luis Enrique wants to play? Do you think he's the big mastermind behind this whole sort of new era of PSG?
Well, I think definitely the way that he's been able to build and orchestrate this side and get everybody to play to their strengths whilst making sure that, you know, everybody on the pitch when PSG play is able to excel. I think in the past, when you've had, you know, players like Mbappe, Neymar, you've had a bit of a clash of egos sometimes, and maybe not everybody seeing eye to eye with the tactics and being able to take that going forward. But I think at the moment, how he's been able to develop and build that team, you've got to give him his plaudits, absolutely.
You have. And I mean, funnily enough, I was going to mention this with like some of the egos from previous years. We touched on egos last episode, right? Obviously, a couple of years ago, they had the likes of Messi, they had Neymar, Mbappe, obviously, and they just never looked quite as good as they do now. And you'd think on paper they should be better, shouldn't they, with the type of players that they had?
Obviously, at this point as well, they had Messi as he was starting to get towards the decline. But
he did. But do you think a lot of it was egos getting in the way of the team? Because they seem to be playing more as a team now and not for themselves.
I just think PSG now as a whole just look like a much more cohesive unit. Everybody's playing to win every single game that they play. They're not giving teams much of a chance at all.
Yeah. And I think, like you said, I think Luis Enrique has done a brilliant job at PSG, hasn't he? He's come in, he's very attacking minded, and I think they've got the right sort of basis to their squad, haven't they? They've got the attacking fullbacks in that they want. They've got the right attacking players in. I mean, I just think they have built a really good basis of their squad, and it's scary to think that with the transfer window coming up and stuff, they could bolster that even more. I mean, you know, they could win their second consecutive Champions League, which is, I mean, the last time that happened was Real Madrid, weren't it, a few years ago? But just this year, right, PSG have not had a goalless draw in any of their last 64 Champions League games. So I think that's actually been since they qualified the first time in Europe when they got took over. It's around them. And they've not had a goalless draw at all. That's just shows how attacking they are as a team, and that they do go into every match, and they would much rather win a game 7-6 than go in and win 1-0.
Yeah, I think I'm seeing a lot of like negativity around this as well, and people saying that it's not proper football with the PSG Bayern game to see that much attacking and not as much on the defensive side of things. But me personally, as a neutral watching this, I'd much prefer that to see, you know, high octane football, to see that excitement back in the game when we're used to seeing goalless draws and teams just sitting back and hoping for that counter attack to win the game. I don't see how you can't not want to see this sort of football more than that side of it, personally.
I suppose if you support one of them, it's very much right, we've scored, let's not throw it away.
Yeah.
So there's a lot more emotion going into it. Definitely as a neutral, I agree with you in terms of watching a 6-5 game in the Champions League. You don't see that every day, do you?
Yeah, because
I would definitely love more teams to play more attacking football than all this sideways, backways stuff that we see a lot more nowadays.
Because I think it's very dependent on the side as well, because obviously you have to play based off the luxury that you're given. And obviously if you've got these players at your disposal and you've got a top quality defence like PSG have, then it gives that luxury more to the attack to be able to get them to push higher up the pitch, because you know you've got that solid base that you can rely on.
Yeah, I agree. And it seems like a long time coming, hasn't it, with PSG? They've tried it with different players, like we said earlier, Neymar, Messi, Mbappe, trialled different things, but they just never seem quite to get it right. I actually think this year they have got it bang on. I think they look like the best team in the world to watch as a neutral anyway. Not only are they the most exciting, but I think the football that they play, compared to the likes of Arsenal, who they'll be playing in the final, it's PSG definitely play the more attacking football, don't they, out of the two?
Yeah, well, they've proven it against powerhouses, both now against Bayern Munich and PSG, being able to get past them. And especially in that second leg, Bayern Munich had so many chances, but PSG were just able to keep holding on. So it just shows the quality of the side.
Oh, exactly. Now, Bayern Munich, another team that obviously got to the semi-final, right? They've also had a superb year in the Bundesliga. And, I mean, okay, let's talk about Elise to start with, right? So, just in the Bundesliga this year, that they've ultimately won, they're already champions. In 31 games, Elise's got 15 goals and 19 assists, meaning his goal contributions for the Bundesliga season were 35 goals in 31 games. That's absolutely, like, breathtaking, isn't it? The sort of, what's the word I'm thinking of? Just how much they've ran away with the league and the quality shown in their squad. And again, you look at numbers like that and you think PSG have managed to beat them and keep them to a 1-1 draw in the second leg. Just shows you again how good PSG are.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Elise as a player, I think, has come onto his own at Bayern Munich. We always saw at Crystal Palace just how good he could potentially be, but I think he's even managed to exceed those expectations. Yeah. I think at Bayern at the moment, you're talking about one of the best players in the world. I mean, the impact that he's had on that side, it's crazy to me that Kane, even with Kane in that side, their wingers are able to get so many goals, and the contributions that we're seeing between those three players has been nothing short of outstanding this season. But Elise, I mean, what a player. The way he's able to take on players, how he can just bend it into the top corner, it's just, there seems to be absolutely no fear in the guy at all. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Sort of what you touched on, the front three of Kane, Elise and Diaz have been sensational, haven't they, this year? We'll touch up on that a little bit later, the three of them. But I mean, you look at Elise's Champions League stats: 12 games, 5 goals, 6 assists. That's 11 goal contributions in 12. Again, another player that's been very, very consistent across all the Champions League games he's played. And like we said earlier, he has been very, very consistent this year, hasn't he? And like, yes, he's got good players around him, but to perform game in, game out like that, I think is, like you said, the sign of a really, really top quality player. I mean, just this season, right, 47 games across all comps, 22 goals, 26 assists, right? That's like 46 goal contributions in 48, which is, you don't even hear them numbers in the Prem very often, do you? And if it was in the Prem, that's all people would be going on about. But It seems like because it's in the Bundesliga, it's a bit more. People don't seem to be as bothered by it, do they?
No, I think for a winger as well, that sort of contributions, it's just outstanding. Outstanding numbers. I mean, with Harry Kane in the side as well, I mean, it's got to be easy for pretty much any winger to be able to rack up the assists, to be quite honest, because my God, what a player.
I mean, being a Bayern fan, right? Imagine how their fans were going into that semi-final. They've won the Bundesliga. They're in the final of the DFB Pokal. They got Stuttgart in the final. If only they could have beat PSG. Do you think they would have beaten Arsenal in the final to have won the treble?
I think personally, I can't see how either. I thought watching it, whoever went through in the semi-final, I think Bayern or PSG, I can't see how Arsenal would be able to get past either of those sides. I think Arsenal as a side, don't get me wrong, they're well oiled, they're a solid defensive team, they'll play for what they can get, and you know, they'll always try and scrape for a win here and there, but I just can't see how you can compete against those sides at the moment. I think they can only sit back and try and sponge that onslaught for so long, but I think in the end, I think there's just too much quality in those sides for Arsenal personally.
But it just shows how teams in Europe all play differently. In the Premier League, Man City, for instance, they'll be 3-0 up. They'll just start sitting back and keeping hold of that lead, understandably. Other countries, your likes of Bundesliga, your French leagues, right, they just seem to want more and more goals, don't they? A lot of the teams won't just sit back and, you know, once they're 1-0, 2-0 up, start passing it backwards all the time. They still try and pump the ball forwards. And so, across Europe, as good as the Premier League is quality-wise, obviously all the good players end up in the Prem, but I sometimes do think the football as a neutral to watch abroad is more entertaining.
Yeah, at the moment I think there's more quality football being played outside of England than in it, personally. I think the Premier League, everybody's trying to play for what they can, and it ends up resulting in a lot of negative football at times.
I mean, for instance, slightly off topic with Blues this year, right? We've been crying out for more goals all year, but the manager has resorted to making the team pass back all the time, try and play it out from the back. Effectively, we're trying to pass it in every match. And that can get quite boring to watch, especially when you see opportunities arise where players should just be hitting it from outside the box. Going back onto the likes of Bundesliga, they don't seem to do that quite as much, do they? They are lumping the ball forwards a bit more. It's a lot more, right, we're going to score one more than you, even if you've scored 8. It's a lot more entertaining.
Yeah, there's a lot more of a mentality on, let's try and take the game by the horns. Even trying to scrape back as well, I think, when teams have been down as well, there seems to be more fight.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Harry Kane, right? We spoke about Elise, one of his attack partners, Harry Kane, right? He's had an exceptional year, right? But he seems to have gone under the radar. I haven't really heard much talk about Kane this year. I mean, I know the World Cup's coming up, and people will obviously, he's probably the first name on your team sheet, isn't he?
Without a doubt.
But, I mean, Bundesliga, again, he's played 30. He scored 33 and he's got 5 assists. So 38 goal contributions in 30. Just that stat on its own. Again, if that was in the Premier League, you'd never hear the end of it. If that was somebody like Haaland, that's all anybody would ever be going on about.
No, absolutely.
In the German Cup, he's played 5, scored 7. So again, 7 goals in 5 games in that. Champions League, he played 13. He got 14 goals and 2 assists. So all in all, this entire football season, he's had 61 goal contributions in 47 games. That's a absolutely colossal number.
Yeah, mind-blowing.
It is. And, across the whole of the Bundesliga, right, Kane scored 38, Elise 34, Diaz 28. 100 of Bayern Munich's goals this year in the Bundesliga have come from them 3. And similar to what we were touching on earlier, that is just quite how good that Bayern Munich attack is.
No, absolutely relentless, yeah.
It is. And, they've scored 172 goals to date in the Bundesliga, 100 of which have come just from 3 players. It's, just to score 172 goals in the league is good enough, let alone for 3 players to score 100 between them.
Yeah, I think that's a stat in of itself. And with Kane as well, I think for me, it's the way that he continues to prove people wrong, because we've seen it in the Premier League. First season, obviously, shows up for Spurs when they most needed a striker. Adebayor wasn't really hitting it. Soldado, the less said the better. But Kane came into the fold, and since then he's just been a mainstay. We had the doubts after the first season that, it might be like a Michu. We'll have a one season wonder and then it'll sort of fade off. But no, it continued season after season, and even now, later on in his career, when we're supposed to be expecting that eventual dip for Harry Kane, yes, he's moved leagues, and you can say arguably the quality of the Bundesliga isn't that of the Premier League. Obviously, he's able to get even more goals now playing for this Bayern Munich side than he could in the Premier League, and there's no doubt in that. But I think just the way that he's, even now, we haven't seen that dip in Harry Kane as he's getting on to the end of his career. If anything, he's getting more contributions than ever, and I think, honestly, what a fantastic player.
Yeah, he's brilliant, isn't he? Thinking back to the Bundesliga a minute, right? Obviously, Bayern Munich by far the biggest team in that competition. They've scored 172 goals across the whole season in just the Bundesliga. That's obviously not including... no, that is including Champions League goals, whatever. Right. So, for PSG to then hold them to a 1-1 draw in the second leg and ultimately go through does show you quite how good that PSG team is. Now, even though yes, they're in the French league, and a lot of people say the French league isn't stacked with loads and loads of quality, that PSG team, to keep them at a 1-1 draw for a team that have scored 172 goals this year is an amazing achievement.
Yeah, and I think the argument with PSG and it's the French league has sort of gone out the window a little bit now, because obviously as that side, with the amount of money they have and the players that they're, the players that they have at their leisure, they're obviously going to be dominating the French league season after season. But now we're also seeing it in the Champions League. We're seeing it against the top sides in the world. So I don't think at the moment you can hold that against PSG.
There's been another takeover, I think, as well, hasn't there, in League One? I think that Paris FC have been took over. So, imagine they get some money behind them. You'd have 2 Paris teams.
2 dominant powerhouses in Paris, yeah.
That'd be mad. And I think their stadiums are pretty much back to back to each other. They're very, very close. So that'd be quite interesting, wouldn't it? If Paris FC could end up doing
a
something.
bit of competition within their own.
It would. Now, this stat is pretty sad. It's pretty mad, really. So Bayern Munich, in their last 53 games, right, no team has managed to keep a clean sheet against them. The last time a clean sheet was kept against them, funnily enough, was PSG in the Club World Cup on the 5th of July. So before the season had really kicked off properly. They've gone nearly the entire season without anyone keeping a clean sheet against them. And that's just, it really does show you just quite how good their attack has been, hasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the fact that PSG merely managed to be able to do that twice as well. I mean, we look at the last fixture. It wasn't until, that fantastic chance through to Harry Kane at the end of the game that they managed to get that goal. Also, otherwise, we could have been looking at it happening again this season.
Yeah. Do you think then Kane would be the first name on the team sheet for the England World Cup squad?
I mean, he has to be. You look at him in recent seasons for Bayern Munich, I think he's got to be the first guy that's on that plane. He's got to be. I mean, the thing is with me as well, I'm really struggling to see where England's future lies
Once
up
he's
top
retired.
after Harry Kane, because there's just not that level of striker at the moment that I can see
That's a valid point.
within that England squad. I mean, obviously we've got players like Dominic Solanke and the likes, but they're not Harry Kane, not even close.
No.
So, and at the moment I can't see anybody younger as well that's looking like they're going to be. I mean, we might have a few promising youngsters up on the horizon, but I certainly can't see anybody being as good as Harry Kane personally.
No, we need something like a Lamine Yamal to come through, wouldn't we? Just somebody really young that's like...
If every country could be blessed with that, yeah, absolutely. Gosh.
So, all time for Harry Kane, since he's joined Bayern Munich, he's played 145 games, scored 140 goals, 31 assists, 171 goal contributions in 145. If he hadn't have left Tottenham, I think it's safe to say he probably would have broken Alan Shearer's Premier League goal scoring record.
Oh, I don't think there was any doubt about that at
So
all.
to then go to Bayern, and people thought, yes, he's moved there to win a trophy, and maybe he's starting to wind down his career a bit. There's still some terrific numbers he's putting. I mean, he's still getting more goal contributions than games.
I think at the moment as well, we're talking fifth. I think in terms of Bayern Munich's all-top goal scorers. I think
Is that what he is?
I think he needs a few more to maybe pip himself into fourth. But I mean, if he continued to stay at Bayern Munich for a few more seasons, we could be easily pushing into the top three at that point, which I think is just ludicrous in the amount of time that Kane's actually spent at Bayern Munich.
Yeah. Slightly off topic, but touching on England again and looking at his numbers. When we played them two friendlies, was it a month or so ago, against Japan and who was the other team we played? Colombia, I think it was. Obviously, Kane didn't play in either of them because he was out injured at the time. I don't think England looked anywhere near as good going forward without him, did they? Obviously we didn't win either game.
No.
I think we drew to Colombia and we lost to Japan, or vice versa. And England do not look anywhere near as good.
No, I think
forward.
we just looked lost.
Yeah, we
Completely
do.
lost.
But he does a lot of tracking back as well for England. Whether he will do that under Tuchel will be interesting. But I think a player that's putting in them numbers consecutively, week in, week out, has got to be first name on the team sheet. And it baffles me that this season he's gone quite under the radar, hasn't he? Not many people have spoke about him.
Because I think personally this season, I don't see how, with the goal involvements that Kane's got on the level that he's currently playing at, how there can't be a case being made for Ballon d'Or currently. But I don't think it's been spoke about enough. For me, I think with the fact of how the Champions League is in recent seasons, and then taking the Champions League and obviously World Cup competitions and things like that more into account, I'm just hoping the fact that PSG not being able to secure the Champions League doesn't end up holding Kane against being able to win the Ballon d'Or this season, because at the moment, for me, he would be the front runner.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. I hadn't even thought of Champions League. Right, so the second game of the Champions League was Atletico Madrid against Arsenal. So the first game was at the Metropolitano, Atletico Madrid's ground. Finished 1-1. Gyökeres scoring a penalty for Arsenal. Alvarez also scoring a penalty for Atletico, right? In that game, obviously, Arsenal had the penalty overturned, which was quite controversial at the time. Ultimately, it didn't really matter. So, probably a good job, really, because I think UEFA may have had a bit of a problem if they had have gone up to lose. Second leg, Arsenal picked to a 1-0 win with Saka scoring, obviously at the Emirates. So compared to the games we've just spoke about, Bayern PSG, there was only, 3 goals across 2 legs in that one. And it seems like both teams wanted to just win by 1 or 2 goals, didn't they? And then they were going to sit back and just, from there, try and keep hold of the win. And I think that's a good prime example. I mean, Arsenal to have won 1-0. Obviously, they're top of the Premier League. So if you're going based off that, a lot of people would say they should be the best team in the world, shouldn't they?
Yeah.
But they've won 1-0. Yes, Atletico are a good team. But I think if you'd have put PSG or Bayern against Atletico, it'd have been more than 1-0. There'd have been definitely more goals in that game, wouldn't there?
Absolutely. I think those sides force you to be able to go more all out and more attacking because they're going to score that many past you. They don't really give you much of an option. Once the floodgates start flowing, you've got no choice but to start upping the ante a bit. But I think with a fixture like Atletico Madrid and Arsenal, personally, I didn't watch these fixtures. I'm not going to pretend that I did, because just as a fixture as a whole, seeing Atletico Madrid and Arsenal isn't something that excites me. If I'm watching the Champions League as a neutral, it's not something that I'm going to think, I've got to tune into this, because we know the football that's going to be played, and it's not necessarily going to be the most exciting. I mean, Atletico at times playing with 6-7 defenders, having their midfield sat up to help support the defence, the wingers coming back. It's just, not necessarily the most entertaining at times.
So we had a chat, didn't we, on the way up here about Saka at Arsenal. Obviously, he ended up scoring the only goal in the 1-0 win at the Emirates. But he has a lot of plaudits, doesn't he, does Saka? He also has a lot of critics. And I think he's one of them, you either love him or you don't rate him. And it's a bit of a tough one, isn't it, with Saka? So what I wanted to have your opinion on is, do you think Saka is one of Arsenal's best players? And do you think he's one of the reasons why they've done as well as they have in the Premier League this year?
I mean, personally, I can't say that. Looking at his involvements this season, he's not the sort of player. I mean, you can obviously take the second leg of the Champions League for what it is. He managed to step up in this game and did score. But I think for me, throughout the course of a season, Saka isn't necessarily going to be that player that I'm going to think, you'll be able to turn to him and he'll be able to pull the team up when they're out all the time, and he'll be able to produce these performances. Because yes, we can see it from Saka. There's no doubt that he's a fantastic player. But I think personally, he's got to be a little bit overrated for me. I mean, I think Arsenal fans necessarily do have a habit of overrating their players in general. I think there's no doubt that they have a fantastic squad. I mean, for the age that they've got their squad at the moment as well, I think they've done fantastically well under Arteta. But for me, I just don't see Saka in the same echelon of those Premier League wingers that have come before him, like your Eden Hazards. You've got even like an Alexis Sanchez. Like, Alexis Sanchez was somebody for Arsenal who, no matter what game it was, you would see quality from Alexis Sanchez. He would step up time and time again. For me, Saka doesn't even manage to produce the same sort of output as an Alexis Sanchez, so I just don't see him there personally.
Similar to what we touched on earlier about what makes a truly great footballer, one of them being consistency. That's something I think he does lack, isn't it, at Arsenal? He's not always the most consistent of players.
No.
Yes, he might get 1 or 2 goals every couple of weeks, but then sometimes his performances look woeful, don't they? And he'll get subbed off again.
Yeah.
So it's definitely one of them things with Saka that it can be a bit of a liability sometimes for Arsenal.
And I think for me, what defines the top end players, like the truly like elite, elite top level wingers, is that consistency throughout the course of the season, and not just based off moments and popping up here and there. There's just not that same level of consistency from Saka, in my opinion.
No, I mean, plaudits to Arsenal though. Their first Champions League final in 20 years. Last time they were there, they lost 2-1 to Barcelona. Lehmann got getting a red. Sol Campbell actually put Arsenal 1-0 up. Typical Arsenal fashion for them to bottle it and lose 2-1.
Not one of Arsenal's favourite players either.
No. But, I mean, you look at some of the players that were in that final. There was Puyol, Ronaldinho, obviously Henry was at Arsenal, Dennis Bergkamp. There were some quality players back then. You look at their team now. Do you think their team now is better than what their team was like then?
Definitely not. I mean, there's no doubt that Arsenal have a fantastic side now. I mean, defensively as well, they play to their strengths. They've got William Saliba, Gabriel, absolutely brilliant. Declan Rice, I mean, I can't knock Declan Rice. One of my favourite players in midfield to watch. I think sitting back's fantastic, wins the ball back. We see him score absolute screamers whenever he wants, helps dictate the play going forward. But I just, looking at this Arsenal side right now, I think you cannot compare them to those level of players that they had back then. I mean, they went invincible for a reason. Henry, Bergkamp, Pires, Vieira. There was so much quality in that side, and there's no doubt that they're good today, but I just think that's a whole different level of team in general.
I think a lot of Arsenal fans as well, obviously a lot of nostalgia coming into it for them, but a player like Henry are very rare, even Bergkamp, and it's going to be very, very hard for them to ever be to get another player of that quality, isn't it?
Top all-time players as well, which at the moment, yes, Arsenal do have world-class players, but I think on the level of somebody like an Henry, definitely not.
No, they haven't got a player that you'd put in the top 5 players in the world, would you, at the minute?
No.
I mean, you could argue a case for Rice, I suppose, but I think for everybody else, it would be that, they're world-class players, but they're not quite in that top bracket yet, are they?
No.
So obviously one of the players that they signed in the summer, Victor Gyökeres, he came with a hefty fee, didn't he? £63.5 million Arsenal signed him for from Sporting, and there's a lot of women and ahhing. Obviously he's built very similar to the likes of Haaland, isn't he? Has he hit the heights that you think he was going to hit at the start of the season, or do you think he's flopped a little bit?
Well, this is where I might be a little bit controversial, because I know in general the discourse around Gyökeres, I think Arsenal fans are quite happy with his output. You can argue that maybe at times he's not as clinical as he should be, and he misses more key chances than what he should be doing. But I think personally, me looking at Gyökeres' season and his output, I'm perfectly happy with Gyökeres' first season in the Premier League. I mean, he's made the transition over. People were, a bit unsure if he'd be able to have that same level of output that he was having in Portugal. And I mean, obviously, he's not going to hit those same numbers, I don't think, playing in the Premier League than Portugal, because they're two completely different leagues. He's going to have more time on the ball at Portugal. He's not going to be facing the same quality of defence now that he was then. But I think, for me personally, Gyökeres' first season, I think he's done well for himself. I mean, he could have got more out of it. Again, I'd say there's been times where he should have scored and he's not managed to pull it off. But I think he's been a solid player for them this season, and he's managed to show up more times than not. So I'd say he's had a good season.
Yeah, I'd second that, to be fair. I mean, he's got 14 goals this year in the Prem, in 25 games, 1 assist. They're not bad numbers for a striker in his first season of English football.
No, not at all.
Champions League, 12 games, 5 goals, 1 assist. So he's got a goal contribution every 2 games, 6 in 12. Again, they're not bad numbers, especially in this Arsenal team. So, to date, again, we've still got like 3 games left of the season, haven't we? But to date, in 43 games that Gyökeres has played, he's scored 21, got 3 assists. So he's got 24 goal contributions in 43. In a team that, obviously, they're not scoring as many goals as the likes of Bayern, PSG. I don't think he's been a bad signing at all. 63.5 mil, yeah, maybe slightly steep. But I think given his age, and I don't think he's hit the ceiling yet. I still think he's going to get better and better. So it could be a very, very smart signing, I think, for Arsenal.
I think there's always a level of concern when, obviously, in today's game, when clubs are spending so much money on players, I think there's always going to be that expectation, isn't there, for them to come into the league and immediately perform. But we've also got to remember that players have got to adapt to a new manager's vision, an entirely new league where different football's played than what they're used to. So, I mean, it's a goal every other game for Arsenal this season for Gyökeres, so I think he's done more than well for himself.
Yeah, he has. And the other player that I wanted to talk about at Arsenal this year is Declan Rice. And this may as well be the Declan Rice fan club, because I know you love Rice, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. I think he's one of the best number 6s in the world.
He might even be the best number 6, to be fair.
You can definitely make a case for that.
How much of Arsenal's success this season do you think has been down to Rice? Because obviously he's not there to score goals. He's not there to assist.
Yeah, we know he's still capable of it, though.
Yeah.
Still.
But just as a number 6, breaking up play, starting the counter-attacks and stuff. How well do you think that, like, how much of a contribution is that to Arsenal's season?
I think Rice is pivotal to a lot of Arsenal's success. I mean, he's got the defence behind him as well. Like, don't get me wrong, Gabriel and Saliba, I think, is honestly one of the best defensive partnerships in world football. Fantastic, which gives Rice a little bit more leeway. But I think just the quality and the level that Rice is able to play at week in, week out for Arsenal is somebody that is always consistent, very rarely has a bad game, and he's so instrumental into everything that Arsenal do, both defensively and going forward. So I'd say he's pivotal to Arsenal's success.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree either, to be fair. So we've gone through the Champions League. We know that the final is Arsenal PSG. So who do you think is going to win it in Hungary between Arsenal PSG? What's your prediction for it?
Do you want me to give a score or just a general prediction?
Nah, your score. What's your score prediction?
I'm going to go, I think, 3-1 PSG. I think Arsenal are going to try and hold off for as long as they can in the early moments. And I think they might manage to last a good 20, maybe 30 minutes, if I'm being optimistic. But I think with the way that PSG are playing at the moment, I think it's going to be too much for Arsenal. We've seen that they're a solid defensive side, but the level of quality that this PSG team is displaying at the moment, I can't see Arsenal being able to contain that pressure consistently throughout the course of the game.
No. Problem for Arsenal is obviously they're still fighting for the Premier League as well. PSG have already wrapped up League One, so they haven't got to worry about the league. In the back of Arsenal's mind, it's like, obviously now they're playing some of their Premier League games. Do they start resting players, saving them for the final, or are they going to go all out for the Prem and hope they don't get any injuries? It's a tough one for Arsenal, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a bit of toss-up as to what they're going to do, really, because, I mean, they're going to try and play it safe on both aspects. At the same time, you don't want to overexpose your players and get any risks of injuries going forward for either of the competitions. So I'll have to see how things go. But at the same time, Arsenal have never won the Champions League, so you should be thinking maybe that might be their main priority, but you know the Premier League will be a big goal as well.
So you're thinking 3-1?
I'm going 3-1, yeah.
I'll go 2-0 PSG then. I think Arsenal do. I think Arsenal give them a good game. I do. But I think Arsenal will get caught out quite early on. I think PSG will go straight out for the attack, catch Arsenal lacking. And I think from there it's an uphill battle, isn't it, for a lot of teams? And I think Arsenal struggle to get back into it.
And I think a strong point for me as well is if PSG, obviously, you know they're going to pile on the pressure early doors because they're going to have to do that with a side like Arsenal. So I think once the goals start flowing for PSG, then it forces Arsenal to come a bit out of their comfort zone and to start trying to chase the game and play a bit more attacking as well. And the thing for me is Arsenal aren't going to be able to do that with the same level of quality as a side like PSG can. So I just see PSG being too much for Arsenal.
Yeah. Well, my next question was also to do with PSG, right? Do you think Luis Enrique is going to get his players to come out playing attacking football, or do you think because of it being a final and what's at stake, are they going to come out and see what Arsenal are like going forward and sort of be a bit more reserved in their approach?
I think personally they should continue with the approach that they've been going with. If they've managed to get past both Bayern Munich and Real Madrid in doing this and playing attacking football, then I can't see why you then wouldn't do it against Arsenal, a team that's going to try and soak up the pressure, sit back, look for the counter-attack. I think they've just got to go all for it.
To be fair, that's exactly my thought on it as well. I think if it's worked for them so far, why change it? There's no point changing something that's winning, is there? I mean, if PSG do manage to pull it off and win again, they would be the first team to defend their Champions League since Real Madrid, who won it consecutively in the 15-16, 16-17 and 17-18 season. So they'll be the first team this century to have consecutively defended their title. That's pretty mad, thinking that what we're in 2026 and there's been a different Champions League winner the last 6 years. That's quite an impressive thing, and it shows how quite diverse the Champions League has become. It's not just one team dominating it week in, week out, or year in, year out, I should say. I mean, before Real Madrid winning it 3 times running, before then we've got to go all the way back to 1988, where AC Milan won it twice, in 1988-89 and 1989-1990. And I mean, growing up for me, when I first started watching football, I was about 5. AC Milan were the powerhouse of Europe. I remember Kaká, Ronaldinho in that side. They had Dida in goal. I always have had a sort of a soft spot for AC Milan.
Yeah, they'll always be the one team for me outside of England that I've always followed closely. I think we all grew up sort of with that era of AC Milan and seeing those incredible players that they used to have at their disposal. And I mean, players, even young players now that maybe didn't quite live up to the potential, but were still exciting to watch, like Pato. I mean, we had a little bit of Robinho there at times as well. Not obviously at the level of quality of those players as well, but they've always had players that you can enjoy watching and have a good time supporting our AC Milan and seeing what they've got.
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of the Champions League stuff wrapped up, to be fair. So we both think PSG are going to win it. So let's go on to the other two European competitions. So we've got the Europa League, and it was obviously that was out of Freiburg, Braga, Villa and Nottingham Forest. Unfortunately for me, being a Blues fan, Villa got through, didn't they? They were 1-0 down to Forest in the second leg, 1-4-0, which was a good win for them, to be fair, because they've been out of form as well.
Yep.
And Freiburg pulled off a cracking comeback against Braga to win 3-1. So the final of the Europa League, Freiburg-Villa. How do you see that going? Because again, it's a tough one. Villa look like they're going to cement themselves Champions League, but are they going to start resting players ready for that final and jeopardise their Premier League form? Or do you think they've got the quality to beat Freiburg no matter who they sort of put out in that final?
I think with Villa, really, they do want to go into that fixture with a strong team. It's a European trophy at the end of the day. And I think Villa, typically in the last couple of seasons, have done well in Europe, so I wouldn't be surprised at all for Villa to end up winning that game. So,
yeah, it pains me to say it, but I think Villa might win it as well.
For us both, it's probably the worst outcome. I think
we'd never hear the end of it,
would we? Wanting Villa to be winning the Europa League at all, but at the moment, I think that's kind of how it's looking. I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean, the other European competition, sort of the low key one, isn't it? Out of the three, Conference League. Final of that one on the 27th of this month is Crystal Palace against Real Vallecano of the Spanish League. First ever European final for Palace. So it'd be great for them to win it, wouldn't it? I think we'll all be supporting Palace that day.
Yeah.
If Palace were to win it, it'd be their third trophy in 2 years. And before the FA Cup win, they'd never won a major trophy, had they? So they've had a cracking couple of years. So what's your prediction for that game?
Well, I'm looking at the fixtures as well, though. I think in both legs, Vallecano only managed to get one goal in both games. And I think at the moment, PSG have been in decent form as well. Ismaila Sarr getting a goal in both fixtures as well. So, I mean, personally, without sounding like I'm being biased, because obviously it's both English teams, believe me, I don't want Villa to be winning the Europa League, but I think at the moment I've got to go with Palace. They're in good form at the moment. You know, they seem to be putting up some decent performances in the Conference League. So
yeah, be good for them to win it as well. First ever European competition. But I don't remember the last time we had 3 English teams in the final of each European competition.
Yeah.
So that's, we talk about the stature of the Premier League, and is the Premier League still just as good as the Bundesliga? Is it still better than the Bundesliga? Is the Bundesliga better than the Prem, vice versa? But I think just based off the fact that, we've got 3 teams all in the final, it really does show just quite how good Premier League is.
I mean, it's definitely shown the quality of the league as a whole by having teams like Crystal Palace and Villa up there as well. Not your typical, top 4 clubs.
No.
But, to see that sides even lower down in the table as well. I mean, Villa obviously being higher up in recent seasons, but typically we're talking mid-table club in recent memory, apart from the last few seasons. But to see them being able to challenge as well and push European sides is fantastic.
Yeah, so I think I agree with all of that, and I think for Palace to win it, I think would be really good. And to be fair, I think I will be supporting Palace that day.
FM side, yeah. Probably have a personal soft spot towards Palace.
You do. You did like that, didn't you?
Although they did lost the League One season to the mighty Wolves. So,
yeah. So yeah, I think that pretty much concludes our European episode. It has been a little bit windy, to be fair, so I'm not sure how much of the wind it's picked up. But going forward, if we are outside, we'll have to come up with an alternative way of blocking the wind from hitting the mic, won't we?
Yeah, there's been a level of risk as well, I think, going into this episode of the podcast. Me sat on this log for the last hour, probably a bit longer with the few retakes that we've had to do because of the connection not working. So
Yeah, this is all Ryan's fault. So what we'll do is, on the next episode, we'll give Ryan a bit of a telling off. And it's his fault for not letting us use his gaff again.
And personal call out to all the other people doing the football podcasts and everything like that. I wonder if they've ever had to endure sitting on a log. You know,
it's not
just
the most comfy, is it, this log? We'll have to
just for the pure enjoyment of putting out this podcast to everybody. So, you know.
Something I wanted to say, actually, is the last episode, so the first episode we did, in total, across Spotify, YouTube and Amazon, I think we've had about 60, 70 views across everything. Or listeners, views on YouTube, I suppose. So we've done quite well from that. And according to the stats on Spotify, which I've been having a play with this week, we've had listeners from, obviously, the UK. We've had listeners from America. We've had a couple from the Netherlands, which is pretty cool. And I think we had a few from Germany as well. So, you know, we're going global. That's what's going on.
Yeah,
from
the
forest.
Getting the feelers out there. You know,
We
it's
are.
all good. And obviously, thank you to everybody that's taken the time out of their day to listen. You know, it's greatly appreciated. So,
I mean, we'd never done anything like this before, had we? Before last week.
no, absolutely. And I'm sure that's probably going to be seen in, you know, the couple of earlier episodes as we start to come into our own a bit more and get used to it. But no, absolutely. Thank you to everybody that's took the time to listen.
That's been good. And as always, if you've got any suggestions that you want us to talk about in future episodes, drop them in comments or DM us on Instagram. We'll be more than happy to try and do episodes on things people want to listen to.
Yeah, even if it's opinions on anything we've said as well, so that, you know, there can be a bit of debate, a bit of discourse there. That's more than fine.
Yeah, we can include them in future episodes as well, can't we? What
Yeah,
other people
absolutely.
have said.
Any comments are welcome.
Yeah, so thank you for listening. We'll hopefully next episode will be somewhere a bit less windy and a bit more comfortable, because it's dropped a bit cold as well now, hasn't it? It's starting to get a bit nippy. So Ryan, if you do listen to this podcast from the comfort of your house, this is your fault, so I hope you're happy. But yeah, thanks for listening, and we'll get an episode 3 sorted hopefully for next Sunday if Dean and Ryan are up for it. And yeah, until next time, thanks for listening.
Scouting for goals. James Ryan Dean, let the whole town know. Scouting for goals.